The people saw that Moshe had delayed coming down from the mountain. They gather on Aaron. Gathered is a kind word. It's more like they gathered, almost like ganged up on him. Make a god to go before us. We don't know what happened to this man Moshe who took us out of Egypt. We don't know what happened to him. So the first thing when you get to the golden calf, you have to understand these people, before anything else, the people were not idiots. They know that they were just taken out of Egypt. They know that there's a Moshe Rabbeinu, there's a God. They know they had 10 miracles. They know the splitting of the sea. They know. You got to start with what it can't be. You got to start, and often, sometimes in life there are situations where let's eliminate that which is impossible. Then that which remains, no matter how unlikely, is the solution, as Sherlock Holmes said. First, let's eliminate what's impossible. Once we've eliminated what's impossible, so we know what is possible and then what is most likely to be. So, for example, if I say to you, Max, could you run down to the office and get me a cup of coffee, right? Now, whatever else I mean, I don't mean run. I don't mean have to run, and I certainly don't mean run back with, even if I say run there, I certainly don't mean run back with the coffee. But I said run, right? So if the Torah says, for example, in the Nach, it says, Shaul ben Shona, Shaul ben Mochel. Shaul was 1 year old when he took the reins. It's a pasuk in Nach. Shaul was 1 year old when he became king. Ben Shona Shaul ben Mochel. That's a very precocious child. I mean, Jews always think their children are precocious, but that's that's pretty impressive. So whatever else it means, it doesn't mean Shaul was 1 year old. It can't mean that. Therefore, it doesn't mean that. What does it mean? There are explanations. He was pure like a 1 year old child. He was sinless. There are explanations, but that's a pasuk in the written Torah, which obviously doesn't mean that. The written Torah says an eye for an eye, right? But you don't see a lot of Jews walking around with one eye. You don't see a lot of Jews poking out eyes. There's never been a case where a Jew lost an eye in an accident by another Jew, hit him in the head with a metal bar, and Bezin went and poked out his eye. It's never happened. But the Torah says openly, an eye for an eye. The Torah says openly, you hit the guy 40 times. He hit his 39. So we have no problem with something, whether it's in a halachic context or it's more in a narrative context. We have no problem telling you that what it says isn't what it means. They're obviously trying to, whatever it is, it can't mean that because they knew that they're not idiots. Can't be that he threw some gold into a fire, out came a golden calf, and therefore that's our God who created us and took us out of Egypt. We saw him. You understand? I mean, that means they're on a lower level than us, which is pretty low, gentlemen. We're not doing that well nowadays. Do me a favor, close the door so we close out Rabbi, the noise. You understand? Okay. So let's examine what did happen here. What did happen here? Let's put it in the proper context. You're in the desert. You've got a leader, Moshe Rabbeinu, right, in the desert? And he goes up on a mountain. He says, okay, I'll be back in 40 days. And you're all alone in the desert. This is the man who's been taking care of you. Everything else that he said has been precise to the T. He said exactly at midnight the firstborns are going to die. Right now the sea's going to split. He says, yeah, I'll be back in 40 days. Well, 40 days later, 6 hours, he's not there. You know what kind of panic that is? You're alone in the desert. You got no food. Your leader just disappeared. There's a panic situation. And what do we do now? He went up on the mountain. We haven't seen him. When we know he went up on the mountain, he didn't take any supplies with him. And he's been gone for 40 days. He didn't take food with him. The Torah says he was up there 40 days and 40 nights, so he didn't eat food, he didn't sleep, he didn't eat, didn't drink. But the people didn't see him go up with any food, and now he's late coming down. We don't know what's going up there on the mountain. So you understand that there's a mindset over here is a little bit panicky. Where is he? He was late 6 hours by their calculation. They miscalculated. They thought he was already 6 hours. 6 hours is a lot of time. You ever had a flight delayed? I was on a plane just now. The flight was delayed for an hour. It felt like it took forever. 6 hours in the desert and he's not there and you're all by yourself. Understand? That's the backdrop to the story. By the way, I heard Rabbi Schiller once said, they always talk about Jewish events starting late. In Jewish standard time, it always starts late when you have a wedding or a bar mitzvah or something. So they say the reason is because the one time in history that we held somebody to starting on time, so he ended up worshiping the golden calf. So since then we've loosened up. That's tongue in cheek. That's a joke. But over here you understand it can't be that the bunch of people who are so intelligent, sophisticated, what's called Dor Dea, the generation of intelligence who received the Torah at Har Sinai, all of a sudden they're going to build a golden calf. It just can't be. That they think the calf. So what happened here? So if you look at the second pasuk, you'll notice that it's clear what they really wanted. They said, "Make us Elohim." How does the arts go? A gods that will go before us. Ki zeh Moshe ha'isha asher alonu me'Mitzrayim le'yidana mehayalo. We don't know what happened to him. We don't know what happened to Moshe. That means they clearly want a replacement for Moshe, not for God. It's clear they want a replacement for Moshe, not for God. Because we don't know what happened to Moshe, to make somebody who's going to go ahead of us. In other words, and we want something that will be never-ending, something that will be immortal. A mortal man, even Moshe Rabbeinu, we don't know what happened to him. Give us something that's immortal. Give us something. Meaning what? You see, what was idol worship originally? What was the Rambam, when it says in the generation of Enosh, what was idol worship? How did idol worship, idolatry start out? They went and made a physical symbol, and the physical symbol was a means of getting at God. But it was only a means, it was only a conduit. But that itself is called idol worship. That's exactly what idol worship. But what's wrong with it if we're going to use it to get to the spiritual level of worshiping God? So what's wrong with it? The answer is that God said, don't do it. Why did God say don't do it? Why does God say don't do it? One of the reasons is because why do you need it? I want you to realize you have a direct connection. You don't need that. You have a direct connection. So here, they're in a panic state. Moshe's disappeared. And they say, so now Aaron's got a problem. The people are in a bad way. So what does Aaron do? Take a look at the third pasuk, 3 lines on the top. Vayomer aleim Aaron, porku nizmei hazov asher bozdei neshechem. Take the gold earrings off your wives' ears. B'nechem u'nozechem, your sons and your daughters. Ve'aviu elai, and bring it to me. One of the best delay tactics. Whatever happens when he comes, a man comes, he says, "Hey, Miriam, Chani, let me have your golden earrings." Why? What are you planning on doing with them? Well, we got some. What do you want with my golden earring? You know, we always want to know before. A man's got an idea, and he's got the glint in his eye, and the wife wants this is a delay tactic. Let's see if the women could hold them off for a little while. So they bring all the gold to Aaron. Vayikach miyodam vayotzer aso bacheret. Aaron goes vayaseu egel masecha, and they makes it into this calf, molten calf. Vayomru ela Elohecha Yisrael asher luchem eretz Mitzrayim. This is your God, O Israel, took you out of Mitzrayim. Meaning that this dedication. Now, what is a calf? A calf represents an ox, or the calf represents a form of service. Remember, the ultimate farm animal. In the old days, what was it? Instead of a tractor, what did they have? They had an ox. The ox is always subservient. The ox is doing a form of labor for you. There are commentaries who say that what they wanted to transfer the way they'd serve God into an ox form of service. In other words, instead of serving at a certain higher level, they'll serve at a lower level. But the ox is a representation of submission. They're still in a state of submission to God. But they've crossed a line into some sort of symbol. Once you cross the line into the symbol is prohibited. That's considered idol worship. You understand? So whatever it is, the sin over here is much more subtle than it appears based on the text. Because the text, they're not going to do. You follow? Are you following? You're with me? Are you with me? That it can't be what it sounds like. It's got to be. Let's say it was us. Leave them out of the picture. Let's say it was us. And we decided to go and sin. We're going to eat non-kosher food. What kind of thing non-kosher food we would stumble with? I don't know about the hechsher over here. If I said to you, if I pick one of the rabbis, say, one of these rabbis had a little issue with non-kosher food. I'd name one of the rabbis there. I'd say, Rabbi Ploni, and I know that he ate something inappropriate. What would you assume? Would you assume it was pork? What would you assume? Something that had a questionable hechsher. Some people are machmir, some people are... Now, when I say it in terms of, there's a rabbi here who ate something inappropriate. Doing, you know, what are you picturing? Some sort of what do you call it, camel meat? And no, what you'd be picturing is, yeah, he must have picked up a bag, and he saw the hechsher, and it was like... You would assume that because you know him, and you know that you yourself wouldn't do it. So he's certainly not going to do that. So it must be something at a much more subtle level. And therefore the sin over here is at a much more, whatever it is again difficult to zoom in on exactly, different opinions on the whatever it is, it's a much more subtle form of idol worship than this blatant just, Yahoo! That's our God who created us. It can't be. Just can't be. Okay? Now, pay attention carefully. So Aaron goes and he makes his egel. And then look at Pasuk Hey. Vayar Aaron vayiven mizbeach lefanov. Aaron goes and he builds an altar in front of him. You have to look at the words inside now, gentlemen. Vayikra Aaron vayomer chag l'Hashem achar. Aaron sees what's going on and he builds an altar. So Rashi points out, what did Aaron do? What happened to Aaron over here? Why is he encouraging this? Why is Aaron pushing this along? The answer is, you'll notice he says, we're going to make a celebration tomorrow. This is all a delay tactic. It's all a delay. Hopefully Moshe is coming down. Come on. And you're just trying to hold off the crowd. But Vayiven is understood in two ways. Gesundheit. Vayiven could be understood as he understood. Vayiven, he built. And Vayiven could also be translated as he understood. And the word mizbeach, which is also altar, if you change the vowelization, could be read as mizavuach, from the one who was slaughtered. Because in the Torah there are no vowels. So it could be vayiven mizbeach, he built an altar. It could also be read as he understood from the one that was slaughtered. So Rashi says over here, he quotes the Medrash, Rashi says, remember, Aaron was left with an assistant. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm going up. Who's going to stay with the Jewish people? Aaron and Hur, who's the son of Miriam. When Moshe Rabbeinu says, do you have any problems? Go to Aaron and Hur. I'm going up on the mountain. We never find Hur mentioned anywhere. We never find Hur mentioned. Comes along Rashi, quoting the Medrash, he says, Vayiven mizavuach. Aaron understood from the one slaughtered. Hur stood up to the people. Hur told the people, you're doing wrong. They killed him. People killed Hur. I'm sure they had a subtle justification. If we do it your way, we're all going to perish. We have to do this for survival. So there's got to be a rationalization. And they killed him. You're interfering with our survival. They killed him. They're murderers. And Aaron understood at this point, that begs another question. Was Aaron afraid for his life? Why didn't Aaron stand up to the people? He was afraid for his life. There are a lot of Jews and through Jewish history who gave up their lives rather than embracing Christianity. They didn't bow to they didn't kiss the cross, and they were burnt at the stake. A lot of simple Jews for history. They weren't on the level of Aaron HaKohen. He's a prophet. Why was he willing to die? Aaron knew somehow through prophecy or had a tradition. I'm not clear. I don't remember how. Aaron knew that if the people worship the idol, they will have a chance to repent. If they kill the prophet, they won't. If they killing him will be worse than what they're about to do. And therefore he engages, therefore we see that Aaron isn't punished by Moshe Rabbeinu comes down, and he asks Aaron what happened, Aaron tells him. So there is a certain amount of culpability on Aaron's part, but again, this is Aaron HaKohen, he's Moshe Rabbeinu's brother, he's got the right intentions over here. He's trying to fend off the people so they don't get caught up in this sin. Then we see an insight that applies in our day and age, gentlemen. What happens when people get involved? Look at the very next pasuk, okay? Vayashkimu mimachras, the people get up early. Vayalu olos, they bring burnt offerings. Vayagishu shlomim, they bring peace offerings. Vayeshev ha'am lechol v'shoso, they start eating and drinking. Vayakumu litzachek, and they get involved in frivolity. And Rashi says, litzachek, take a look, it's the second column, about 7 lines from the bottom. If you find it, show the person next to you, please. Vayakumu litzachek, I want to show you a phenomenal concept here. Really, follow this inside. Rashi says, litzachek, yesh b'mashma hazeh gilui arayos. The word litzachek always implies some sort of immorality. Okay? And then Rashi says, Vishvichus damim, and blood spilling. Right? And then Rashi says, right? And Rashi brings on, Afkan nerag chur was killed over here. So there's idol worship, there's immorality, and there's murder, the three cardinal sins. Yeah, they're all involved here in this sin. Now, I want you to watch this. This is phenomenal. Well, look at the words inside again. The people get up early in the morning, and the first thing is olos. You know what an ola is? What kind of offering is an ola? Anybody know? Total devotion to the cause. Total devotion. We got a new ism. Egel-ism. Total devotion to the cause. We bring offerings that are totally devoted to the cause. What's the next one? Shlomim. A peace offering. You know, in the Beis HaMikdash, when you brought a peace offering, what happened? Part of it is burnt, and part of it is eaten by the owner, by the person who brought it. Oh, all of a sudden there's a little bit of what's in it for me. First, you were totally devoted to the cause. Then a little bit for the altar, a little bit for me. Then the next thing is the people sit down to eat and drink. Total for me. Right? It's like my brother when he used to divide up M&Ms with me. He got the idea for the Three Stooges, obviously. You know, one for you, one for me, two for you, two for me. But he would give me one and he would take two. Three for you, three for me. He'd give me one and he'd take three. Right? All of a sudden, your part, that was came from the Three Stooges, right? Which is very, very sophisticated. But that was the what do you call it? That was my mother didn't even like when we watched the Three Stooges. Because as soon as we finished watching the Three Stooges, then we had a pillow fight. We were smacking each other around. You know, she never liked it. She said, as soon as you watch it, done with the Three Stooges. Now, I hate to admit this in public. I have seen clips of the Three Stooges at various times over years, short clips. I've laughed my kishkis out. I've laughed to the point where I've needed oxygen. Right, I don't know. There's something about them that absolutely, it just gets that funny. I don't know what. It's so stupid. It's so a slapstick, and it is something that tickles you. Well, over here, look what the people do. Look at the progression. They start with total devotion, which is the korban ola. They go to the shlomim, half and half. The next thing is total focus on myself. They sit to eat and drink, and then not only total focus on themselves, immorality. That's always the path you're going to find by anything that veers off. As soon as you veer off of the path of Torah, where does it always inevitably end up? One way or another, you end up with immorality. One way or another, it's good. It may be a path, and it's this gradual process of, well, we'll trim it down over here, trim it down over here, trim it down a little bit more. Now I'm totally selfish, and the next thing you know, you're into immorality. And most people, somebody who has been involved in the Torah world, and he steps out of the Torah world, what's really motivating him is immorality. He's come up with all sorts of intellectual excuses and philosophies and rationalizations, and we all see right through. It's very transparent. His motivation is quite transparent. We understand. It's like the guy came to Rabbi Chaim Brisker. This was the first time. It's been quoted many times since. He came to Rabbi Chaim Brisker, and he said to Rabbi Chaim Brisker, he's not religious. Because he has a lot of questions, right? He says, you don't have any questions. Remember that? You don't have any questions. You have desires. You don't have any questions. And for somebody who's got desires, there are no answers to the questions because you're not asking a question. I know what I want. Therefore, first I know what I want. Therefore, I create the questions. And I'm such a wise, intelligent person that you can't answer my questions. Therefore, I've got the excuses to do. No. You got excuses first. First, you know what you want to do. Therefore, you come up and you formulate these questions. But here you have the insight. This is something that has followed. Most take a look at communism or any of the other isms. It all starts out as an ideal, doesn't it? And where does it end up leading to? I think the communists, who had the nicest houses in Russia? Who had the dashas and the resorts? The people of the party, the people, the leaders of the party. The people had to give all their, couldn't even own their own produce. Had to turn that in. The famous story. This guy gets called in by the Communist Party. He said, "Comrade, what would you do if you had a boat?" "A boat? I would donate it to the party." He says, "What would you do if you had a house?" "A house? I would donate it to the party." Very good comment. "What would you do if you had a shirt?" "A shirt I would keep for myself." He said, "I understand. A boat you give to the party, a house you give to the party, a shirt you give here." He says, "Yeah, a shirt I have." We're very generous with those things that we don't have. Sometimes a person, if I won $5 million, I would definitely give $1 million to tzedakah. Yeah, you know why? Because he haven't won the $5 billion yet. Let's see what happens when you win the $5 million. What we failed to realize, did I ever tell you a story with the Chafetz Chaim? The Chafetz Chaim had a disciple in the yeshiva. He said he's not satisfied in the Torah world studying Torah. He wants to go into business and become wealthy. He wants money and he'll support Torah. So Chafetz Chaim tried to discourage him. The guy went off. He left the Rad in yeshiva. He went off, became business, became fabulously successful, fabulously wealthy, living in Vilna. Okay. At some point, the Chafetz Chaim came to Vilna for some reason. He went to visit this former Talmud of his, who's now a very wealthy man. So he goes in and he sees a lot of people in the waiting room people coming to solicit this philanthropist or supposed philanthropist. And Chafetz Chaim comes in. And as soon as the door closes, the guy bursts out into tears. He says to the Chafetz Chaim, I'm suffering from an illness and I don't know what to do. Chafetz Chaim says, what's the problem? He says, I cannot open my hand to give tzedakah. I can't give. I got all this money, and for some reason I can't get myself to give tzedakah. So Chafetz Chaim started laughing. He said, I tried telling you. You thought when you were in yeshiva, you'll make a lot of money, and then you'll give a lot of money to tzedakah. You overlooked one thing. At the time that you were in yeshiva, your donation, the evil inclination, your yetzer hara, for giving away money was very, very small. You know why? Because you didn't have any money. Now you've got the money. What you forgot was that parallel to your bank account grows the yetzer hara. So it's very difficult for you to give the money because you've got an equal and opposite force against you. That's what we often overlook. So the people over here, they get involved and then they end up somehow in immorality. Take a look at Pasuk Zayin. Vayidabra Hashem al Moshe, God says to Moshe, Lech reid, go down from the mountain. The nation that you brought out of Egypt has gone off. And the Rashi brings down that a lot of this was the commentaries talk about this at length. The Erev Rav, the mixed multitude who wanted to join, was Moshe Rabbeinu's idea to bring them along. The Egyptians, they were the catalysts of the sin. Soru maher min haderech asher tzivisim, asu lam ego masecha, vayishtachavu lo, vayizbuchu lo, v'yomer ela alecha Yisrael asher aluchem eretz Yisrael. God repeats to Moshe what the people have done. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe re'isi asama zavinam kshe uruf. I see these people are stiff-necked people, and we gentlemen, we are a stiff-necked people. What's the other description of being stiff-necked? Stubborn. That's the word. Right? Jews are stubborn. We are stubborn. And by the way, stubbornness is not necessarily a criticism. Stubbornness is like any other trait. If I say to you somebody's an introvert, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends. Good. And if he's an extrovert? Depends. Depends what you do with it. Right? It really depends. It depends what you do. If somebody's very bold, it depends. If you use your boldness to go and solicit donations in order to build a yeshiva, that's a great way to use boldness. If you use your boldness to go rock climbing, there are better things you can do with your time. So if I say you're stiff-necked, yeah, we are stiff-necked. That's what it takes. That's what it takes to stand up against a society. That's what it takes to not allow the values of a society to. We're pretty stiff-necked. And Jews don't like to be told what to do, right? On the other hand, something we don't like to take instructions in the right direction either. We are a stiff-necked people. So God says they're nam ksheoref. And then God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Ve'ata hanichali v'yichar api b'em v'achalai. Now, let me get angry at them and destroy them. I'll make you into a great nation. What does that mean? What does it sound like if God says that to Moshe? Now just let me wipe out these people. Right. That means I really don't want to. I'm inviting you to stop me. Somebody hold me back. Hold me back, somebody. Like God's saying, and now just allow me, just let me, and I'll do it. This let me means don't let me. God inviting Moshe to daven for the Jewish people, that's for sure. For Moshe Rabbeinu, it's not such a thing. Moshe Rabbeinu loves the Jewish people. It's like somebody saying to a father, just let me, and I'll cause your son pain. It's not a test for a father. Father, of course, you're inviting the father to then daven, beg, petition you that he shouldn't do it. So it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if Moshe Rabbeinu, if it is a very minor test. So it's a testing a father to have his son go through suffering. But God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, and look, it could be the altar, and you'll be the nation. And Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't want that. I want these people. I want these people. So then it says like this. Okay, Moshe davens, And he goes through this tefillah over here, and Hashem, Vayinochem Hashem al Rosh Pasuk 14, God, so to speak, changes the God. Obviously, God doesn't change his mind. God, how does our scroll translate it? God reconsidered, good word. God reconsiders, and he doesn't destroy Jewish people. Okay, now, I want to show you, because this is, again, every pasuk here is another fundamental. In pasuk 15, 3 lines from the bottom. Vayifen Moshe vayired binahor shnei luchos eidos biyado. Moshe comes down from the mountain with the 2 tablets. Luchos ksuvim mishnei Avram, the tablets written from both sides, mizel mizahim ksuvim, and they're written in a miraculous way. The luchos were carved in a miraculous way because there are certain letters in Hebrew, like a mem. The final mem is a closed letter, and if it goes all the way through, if I carve a circle in this piece of paper over here, so I got a problem, which is the middle part's not attached to anything. So the middle part of the mem just stayed right where it was, stayed in the air, in the luchos. That's the miracle of luchos. You got a loose piece over there, so to speak, and it just stays because it's carved all the way through. And not only is it carved all the way through, normally when you carve something all the way through, so then on one side you read it forwards, the other side it would read backwards, right? Because you've written it in a certain way. But there was a further miracle. Not only was it carved all the way through, any side that you looked at it, it read normally. That's also a miracle. You're talking about something that defies nature because it was written by God, who himself is not limited by nature. However that works. That God is not limited by natural law. So the luchos are beyond nature. You know that it says that the Aron Kodesh took up no space in the Holy of Holies. Are you aware of that? Do you ever hear that idea? So the Aron Kodesh is 2.5 amos. 2.5 amos. The Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, is 10 amos long. Right? So how many, so if you have the Aron Kodesh in the middle, so it should measure, if it's 1.5 amos, it's 20 amos. So it should measure 8.5 amos from here, 8.5 amos from here, right? But if you measured from this side, it would be 10 amos. If you measured from this side, it would be 10 amos. The Aron Kodesh took up no space in the Holy of Holies. I don't even know what that means. That's what Chazal say. A physical box, which they made, but it took up no space. Any way that you measure from it, you'd come up with 10 amos instead of 8.5 amos. Or 9.5 amos, whatever the amount is. Because when something is so beyond nature, it's not limited by natural law. That's why the Aron Kodesh carried those that carried it. What do you mean carried those that carried it? It says they should carry their Aron Kodesh, right? It looked like they were carrying it. But it was carrying them. You understand? It's not limited by natural law. So the luchos, which are created by God beyond nature, are not limited by natural law. The luchos are, if God's not limited by nature, so anything God produces is not limited by nature. So Moshe Rabbeinu comes down with these luchos. Ve'aluchos ma'aseh Elokim hema. The luchos are the product of God. How does the article translate it? God's handiwork. Ve'amichtav michtav Elokim hu. The writing is God's writing. Chorus al haluchos. Now the word chorus is engraved, carved, engraved into the luchos. Engraved is a better word. But the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says that this word chorus could also be read as cherus. Any of you know what cherus is? Cherut? Freedom. Freedom, cherut. Chorus. And the Mishnah says, Al tikri chorus ela cherus. Don't read it as chorus. Don't read it as carved. Read it as freedom. Read it as freedom. So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, based on this, since it's on the luchos obviously is this cornerstone of Torah, says the Pirkei Avos, nobody is free except for somebody who is involved in learning Torah. Ein lecha ben chorin ela misha osek b'talmud Torah. Nobody is as free. I don't know, it could be translated nobody is free or nobody is as free as somebody who's learning Torah. What does that mean? Nobody is as free as somebody who studies Torah means nobody is as free as the evil and the ultimate prisoner. Who's the ultimate prisoner? You could escape from Alcatraz, or you can't escape from Alcatraz. A couple of guys tried to escape from Alcatraz. I don't know. There are a lot of prisons that you couldn't escape. People escape from Russian prisons. People escape from German prisons. Nobody escaped from the Yetzer Hara. That's the ultimate prisoner. Every desire that we have means we're a prisoner. If you're addicted to caffeine, you're a prisoner. If you're addicted to nicotine, you're a prisoner. If you're addicted to your anger, you're a prisoner. If you're addicted to Any desire, you're a prisoner. You are a prisoner of your desire. The only person who breaks free is a person who's involved in Torah. The more Torah you study, the more you break free of the shackles of the evil inclination. That means you're no longer in prison. There's nobody who is as free as the person who studies Torah. Do you know who the biggest prisoner of the world is? The biggest prisoner of the world is a person who's a billionaire, who has massive desires. And he can't break free of that. He can't break free. You take a person who's living the good life, when he's missing one thing, his day is ruined. He has every delicacy in the world, but if the roast duck, didn't come out exactly the way he wanted, his day is ruined. He's totally dominated by his desires. He's not a free man, he's a prisoner. The person who's okay with everything. How do you become okay with everything? You study enough Torah, and you are so enriched and fulfilled by this on the spiritual level. The physical means very little to you, so you're no longer a prisoner. You have your philosophical questions. You're imprisoned by philosophical questions. You study a little bit of Torah, and all the questions melt away. You don't even need answers. You see that the questions are nonsense to begin with. All the questions, all the problems melt away. That's okay, one more pasuk, we stop. Vayishma Yehoshua eskola umbereo. Yehoshua hears the people, and they're in a bad way. Vayomer el Moshe kol milchama b'machana. I hear the sounds of war. So Moshe, Rabbi Yehoshua, they're coming down the mountain. Yehoshua said, I hear the sounds of trouble. I hear the sounds of war. So look what Moshe says. Vayomer ein kol anos gevura. That is not the sound of the whooping sound of the victors. Ve'ein kol anos chalusha. That's not the lament of those who are defeated. Kol anos anochi shomea. It's a sound of distress. He translates it as a sound of distress. You'll say, gentlemen, when you are parents, you hear your kids in the back room. There's a certain sound kids make. There's a sound they're making when they're having good, clean fun. And there's a sound, what my wife used to say, you hear the kids are goofing around the back room. My wife would say, somebody just pulled down somebody's pants in the back room, right? You could tell by the naughty laughter. Something naughty just happened back there. Little kids are playing around, somebody did something that's naughty. And that's the type of laughter. You hear the sound. There's a certain sound that you hear. You hear a loud cheering sound. Is that a loud? You hear a certain type of laughter, even from adults. Is that laughter because they're amused? Is that laughter because something funny? Is that laughter because somebody just tripped and slipped on a banana peel on the sidewalk, and it's like almost a shameful laughter? Okay, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Yeshua says, I hear the sound of war. That's not war. It's not victors and it's not losers. It's a sound of noise. Article translated as distress. We'll see what kind of noise it is tomorrow. Okay.